I'm on day 2 of my 100-mile diet challenge and I feel amazing. I'm eating less, I'm savoring my food, I'm playing with new foods I haven't eaten before, I'm experimenting with recipes, I'm having a fascinating time discovering what's available to me, and I'm really becoming a bigger and bigger fan of something that I already supported before this, which is local seasonal eating. So eating locally, eating seasonally means exactly what it sounds like. We're eating locally grown foods according to the season that they're grown in. Not that hard. Bananas from Ecuador are not in season in Los Angeles in January. It just doesn't happen when they're not from Los Angeles, they're from Ecuador. And the further a food travels to get to you, like I said in my first blog about this, the typical farm to table distance for a food is 1,500 miles, but in most cases it's actually further than that. That's bringing down the average of something like my rice from India, which was 9,000. The further a food travels, the more nutritional value that it loses. So I'm going to get a lot more benefit from eating my California grown apple than I am from eating that banana from Ecuador, Panama, wherever it's coming from. So it's something really important if you want to get a nutrient-rich diet, and also I feel it has a great impact for us both socially and environmentally because we're supporting local farms, we're supporting sustainable movements, we're supporting organic growing. Most of the farmers at farmers markets in your area are going to be growing organic, and even if they don't note it on their booth that they're an organic farmer, talk to them and ask them about their growing methods. What you're going to find is that a lot of small farms just can't pay the money and go through the process that it takes to get certified organic. That doesn't mean that they're avoiding the use of pesticides on their products. So talk to your farmers, ask them what they use, how do they grow their food. Not only is that going to connect you to what you're eating, it's going to connect you to the person who grows your food, and that's a really powerful connection to have. So let's talk a little bit about what I picked up at the market this week and what I noticed was going out of season and how you can preserve that. So a few things that I think are at their tail end right now are berries, peaches, plums. Kale, unfortunately, is nearing its end for a lot of markets, although here in California we seem to kind of have that year-round. And basil is getting near the end. Avocados for us are another year-round food, but I know in a lot of places those are going out as well. And corn on the cob is nearing its end too, which is such a fun summer thing. So with something like corn, what I'd recommend is bring it home from the market. Anytime you get a food, you want to preserve it as fresh as you can. So get home from the market and immediately take the time to preserve, freeze, however you're going to save your food for winter months. Corn, you can just shave it raw right off the cob, put it in little plastic baggies. I always date stuff just so I know how long it's been in there, if it was from the year before or not. And then you have it to use all through the winter. So you can just throw it into soups, make chowders. A lot of times when I want to heat up stuff that I've had in the freezer, I just put it in a pan with a little bit of water, stick a lid on it, and just kind of let it steam cook itself in there, or you can also put it in a steamer. Kale is one that you can just freeze. Sometimes I freeze it in Tupperware containers like this. You know, I really try to avoid using too many plastic bags, but you can buy biodegradable ones right now, which for storing vegetables is great. They're not going to get dirty, and you can use them over and over again. So kale, I just peel off the stem like I showed you for the kale chips. Either put it in a container, put it in plastic bags, stick it in the freezer. It's going to hold really well, and then you can use it year round. Avocados, good luck holding on to those. Just come home, make a lot of guacamole right now. Things like peaches, nectarines, pluots. I love pluots. It's kind of a mix between a plum and an apricot. They're amazing, really sweet fruit. You can take those, slice them up, and freeze them just like berries, and then pull them out in the winter months to do things like make pies and cobblers. So yesterday I picked up my first acorn squash. These are super high in fiber and potassium. It has a beautiful yellow-orange flesh, and you can actually roast the seeds in them just like we do with pumpkins. Like I said, super high in fiber and potassium, and they're considered a winter squash, but they're actually part of the summer squash family, so they fall in with things like zucchini and yellow squash. And I think that that's part of why we see them be among the first squashes to appear at the markets. Traditionally, they're just baked. They're delicious that way. I like to actually cut them in half, scoop out the seeds, roast them, and then scrape out the filling and mix it with things like quinoa and rice, garlic, onions, whatever, like any kind of vegetables that I have on hand, sometimes a little bit of cheese, and then put it back in the shell and bake it all again. Twice baked squash, which is really delicious. You can also steam it, saute it. You can make muffins with squash. Basically anything that you could do with pumpkin soup as well, you can do with acorn squash as well, and it's absolutely delicious. I talked a little bit about heirloom tomatoes on my blog yesterday, and this is a, I think this is a green zebra. There's over 600 varieties of heirloom tomatoes, and I think I saw about 25 of them yesterday, so I'm mixing up names. These are so delicious. Once you have these, you cannot go back to just eating Roma and beefsteak tomatoes from your local market. You just can't. I add them to salads. I make sauces out of them. What an amazing pasta sauce you can make. They're also delicious just sliced with a little drizzle of oil, some basil, salt, mozzarella. Just have at it. They're incredible. Beets are a year-round food for us. I don't know if they are everywhere. You can cut them and freeze them, but they don't go bad that quick. So you might also be able to preserve them for a couple months, but you can also pickle and can them too. I really like to use beets this time of year because I find that they're delicious when you cut them up and roast them with other harvest vegetables like the little baby potatoes and carrots. We're getting all those amazing carrots right now that are purple, yellow, orange. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So I'll cut up beets and I'll mix it with carrots, onions, squash, any other kind of seasonal vegetable, especially root vegetables. I'll put them all in a bowl, put on some olive oil, salt, spices, toss it up, throw it in the oven, roast it. Just like that, they're absolutely fantastic. Beets are an amazing food for you. They're a really good blood cleanser, extremely purifying, and they're also great to shred it onto salads. I put them in wraps, everything. What we often forget when we eat beets is to also eat the beet greens. They're actually more nutritious than the beets themselves. They're extremely high in iron. They have a lot of chlorophyll in them, and you can cook them just like you do spinach or chard. So again, just pull them off the stem, wash them really well. That is important because they do tend to, because they're pulled from the earth like that, be a little bit dirtier often even than lettuce. So be careful that you wash them really well. You can steam them, you can saute them, you can put them in a salad. They're amazing if you saute them with things like goat cheese or feta, olive oil, garlic, onion, pine nuts. I mean, absolutely incredible. I haven't put them in a soup before, but you probably could. You could probably even add them to some kind of a stir fry. But I really like to use them as like a bed to put greens and other vegetables over, or they're just absolutely delicious steamed with a little bit of lemon juice and salt and pepper on them. So that's just a few of the things that are coming into season right now. Walnuts, I was able to get a big bowl of yesterday. Those are coming in as well, and those are amazing. I don't have a nutcracker, so I've just been cracking them up with a hammer. I've been putting them on my salads. I've been roasting them a little bit. I've also been, something like with the beet greens, I've been putting walnuts on there as well with just olive oil and my fresh goat cheese. So that's just a couple things that are in season right now. Apples too are starting, so get those, cut those up and freeze them. That's another one that's amazing to just store. And applesauce is something else that you can start making too. So don't be afraid to get in your kitchen and cook. Don't be afraid to try new things. Go to your farmers markets. I know in a lot of places those are going to end soon, so get out there, get as much as you can. It's actually worth spending the money now and buying a lot of local seasonal produce and storing it yourself for winter months. It's going to cost you a lot less than if you're going to go to a grocery store and buy something like blueberries at a premium in January when they're not in season pretty much anywhere. So I will put some recipes and links and ideas along with this video blog. If you have questions, as always, just email me, and I will be back soon with more information on cooking locally and seasonally. Next up is going to be kale pesto. All right, thanks guys.